Well, hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Anchored with Purpose podcast. Today in the studio, I have my friend Kali Brigham, who is a time management coach and the host of the podcast Perfectish. Now, if you've not gotten to listen to Kali's podcast yet, I have to tell you, you're going to want to subscribe. And don't worry, I've got the link for you in the show notes. Kali is a time management expert, and I can't wait for you to hear from her and learn about how she takes life and how she helps you perfect sections of it while living that imperfect life. Kali is incredible when it comes to helping to prioritize what's important and live a faithful life without checking the boxes, but being truly present. Tune in and we'll see you inside the episode. Well, Kali, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited that my listeners get a chance to meet you and learn from you today.
This has been a long time coming, Melissa. We've been excited about our conversation and just sharing stories, encouraging women here today. So I can't believe we finally made it happen. And I'm so excited to be here.
I am excited for this. This is going to be good. Well, I know that my listeners might not know you yet. So could you please share how you first got started in the time management space and what inspired you to make this a focus of yours?
So this is going to be a little bit different than maybe some of your other guests that you've had on here, because I know that this is not going to be relatable in any way to most people out there. I cut my teeth, so to speak, on time management as a television news producer. So I was working for NBC News, and here's the deal. As I look back, anyone else, let's say that you're 5 minutes late to work at your regular job, no big deal. But when you're producing the 5 o'clock news for the NBC station in Memphis, you can't be 5 seconds late to work. Can you imagine, right?
Oh my gosh.
At 5 o'clock, people expect to see the opening credits to the news. And Melissa, at 5:28 and 30 seconds, you also better be done, because the national news, you can see the video screens of the national news in New York, and they're powdering the anchors' noses, like getting ready to go on. So you also have to be done on time. So as I look back, I realize that the value of a second mattered in the TV station. And that's where I learned some of the skills. I learned how to pivot. I learned how to prioritize. I learned how to communicate. All of those things I learned. Now, the reality is no one wants to live in that rigid and structured of a world, because most of the time the seconds are not quite as critical. But what I think I learned through that was I did learn some tactical tips. I did learn some practical things, but probably more than anything, I learned the value of my own time, because my time was not my own. I was owned by the TV station 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And I came to realize that as valuable as it is to plan out your moments, to have an agenda, to have a to-do list, to work it out, the value of the time that is most precious to yours also started to speak to me. So that's kind of the start. I ended up taking some of these skills into working in sales and working with a large sales team. And I got to see the nuances of women and how it is when we're emotional and how it is when we have life, and how to still be able to weave our priorities into our schedule and into our rhythm. So I kind of took it from this like microcosm of unrelatability to the real world, using myself as the biggest guinea pig, but also working with women throughout so many different seasons. And now here we are. So I have a podcast about it. I'm passionate about it, but I'm not passionate about a perfect planner or that everybody has to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. That to me is not time management that I want to talk about. I want to talk about really making sure that you have time to honor your priorities and the things that matter. So there you go.
That's so good. So it's funny, I had forgotten about the news until you just said that, because it's been a while. Oh my gosh. So I'm thinking about some of the conversations that we had before we went on the air, where we were talking about the sales world and how it's great when you're raising a family and you can make time your own. So I love that you took these skills that you learned in the corporate world, like quite literally in the newsroom, applied them to your own sales business, and have been now teaching not just your own big sales team, but now you're teaching and coaching other women across the country, right?
Yeah, it's really been neat to see that at the end of the day, there are some commonalities, of course, in what women truly want with their time. So it didn't really matter whether it came from a woman in corporate or a woman who has a side hustle or a woman that, has children or is an empty nester. The reality is that we desire to maximize our time, and we desire to, I think in this day and age, to fight against the overwhelm and the busy and the guilt that can come from so much of that, and the comparison to other people. So that's where I want my sweet spot to be, is to eliminate some of that, to give some freedom. The name of my podcast is Perfectish. So it's not the pursuit of perfection. That will never happen. But my goodness, if we can perfect different areas of our life so that they can feel more peaceful, so that they can feel more aligned with where we want to go, that's the win. And that's what I found has been so much fun and so rewarding. And it's helped me too. I've gotten better as well.
Yes. When something else that you said that my listeners are going to giggle at, and here's why: because I am one of those crazy people who likes to get up at like 4:30 in the morning, because that's just me. I'm a morning person. And so it's so good for them to get to hear from you. Like, look, this is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about you have to get up at a crazy time of morning to be able to get everything done. Some of us, that's just how we operate, right? But it's not what you're asking of people.
No, I just finished working with some of the women that are in a little kind of collective that I'm focusing them on. And we talked about how to really run in your own lane and to know yourself. And more than anything, like, let's talk about a morning. And I know we'll get to more of that too, but let's talk about the morning routine. It's less about what exact time are you waking up, and it's more about what do you want your morning to feel like and look like.
Yes.
And if that means that you have a long runway before the kids get up so that you can fill your cup up, so that you can be prepared for the day, then you're going to figure out, what time does that mean for me? I will protect that with boundaries. I'm going to prioritize that, which means I'm going to go to bed early enough so that I can't, right? So
Yes.
But it's more, what do I want it to feel like? What do I want when people look at my morning? What do I want them to say is important to me? Then I'm going to figure it out. If we start there instead of, well, Melissa gets up at 4:30, so I'm going to get up at 4. There's nothing wrong with that. We can definitely learn from people who are where we want to be. But it's also not one size fits all. That is for sure. And we don't have to apologize for that either.
Right. I love that you said, what do I want my morning to feel like? And that is such an important question. And that leads me into this next question here, because, on this podcast, we talk a lot about that quiet time with the Lord. And so, as a time management expert, you are the perfect person to ask this to, especially a time management expert who is a Christian, who has a deep faith. So how do we help those women who maybe feel like their quiet time with God is always like, someday, maybe when I retire, I'll have time for that? How can they create that intentional space for Him without feeling like, oh, now I can check the box? Like, more of a feeling, not a check the box kind of thing.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I find that if I'm not careful, I can do the checklist thing too. And the last thing I want is, just like when you're dating your husband, it's not a checklist of spending time with him. Okay, I told him he looks nice. Okay, we went on a date. Okay, right? It's craving time with that person. Or with your children, it's not that. So why would we want it any different with our relationship with the Lord? So, but I think some of the things, we put so much pressure on ourselves that it has to be like an hour or two, or else we're not in close relationship with God. I would prefer, and what I tell people as well, is to start small, and that is how you start strong. And I'll just give you an example. Years ago, gosh, I think, Melissa, it's probably 10 years now. I read for the millionth time, Seek ye first the kingdom of God, right? And his righteousness. And I thought, what would it look like to actually do that?
Yeah.
What would it look like to actually seek him first? And I just thought, you know what? The first thing that I want my eyes to see, and the first thing that I want my heart to think about, and the first thing where I want my mind and my spirit to go is to him. So I love that little Bible app. Thank you, Life Church, for the Bible app on there. And I just decided, seek ye first. I was going to read the verse of the day. That's just where I was going to start, because if I had a little bit more time, I could read the context, and then they have a devotional on there and whatever. But at the least, at the very beginning, let me seek him first. And so often when we get into that rhythm, more comes. See, that's what I think people mistake. They think it has to be something so robust.
Yes.
And then the first morning, they don't get up at 4:30 and do their hour devotional and pray on their knees and all that. And so then they think that they are a loser, or they think that it's, not for them, or they, again, shame on yourself. I just started there. Maybe there's been 1 or 2 days I can look at my streak. There's a streak on there. I don't know, Melissa, that I've missed a morning in 10 years to seek him first.
That's amazing.
Now, other things come from that too, right? Because that like begets like. So when I seek him first, then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to want to read a little bit more in his word. I am going to want, and let me also encourage you all too. The Bible says that God inhabits the praise of his people. Literally, it's a promise that when there's praise, he's there. So maybe that even just means putting worship music on in the morning. And I'll give you another example. So I started to say, I'm kind of compiling all these together, right? What do I want my morning to look like and feel like? If someone on the outside looked at my morning, what would they say is important to me? I'm going to seek him first, because then he'll add all the other things, right? He'll add all the other things on. And I want him to be there in my home. So I decided one of the other practices that I have is that we play worship music in my house in the morning. And especially with 2 teenagers that are getting ready for school and a husband. Okay, it's hard to yell and scream at each other when Jesus music is on.
That's right.
Okay. So I set the tone. I've got worship music on. I do get up. I'm not as much of a morning person as you are, but I still get up early because I want to fill my cup up. And one morning in particular, my husband was out of town. I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, and my 16-year-old is a boy and my 14-year-old is a girl. And that girl walked in the kitchen some kind of way. I don't know if you've ever had a 14-year-old girl walk in some kind of way.
Boys, but I guess
okay, just imagine, yeah, and you may have a boy that is some kind of way. So she walks in. And again, thank goodness there was worship music on, because what I wanted to do was like fire with fire, right? Like, yeah, okay. But thank goodness the Holy Spirit stopped me, and I just looked at her and I said, Maddie, stop messing with the thermostat. And she looked at me and she goes, I didn't touch the thermostat. Probably with a lot of attitude. I didn't touch the thermostat. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not talking about the one on the wall. I'm talking about the one that I set this morning in our home. And I drew like a circle around the kitchen. I said, I set the thermostat for our home. Stop messing with it. And she just kind of stopped and looked at me, and she just kind of said, okay. And that was that. I think I threw her off her game. But when we talk about why do we set boundaries on our time, why do we prioritize seeking him first or putting worship, it's so that I could set a thermostat for my home, that when things started to go a little sideways, I could see it and have the capacity to say, that's not how we start our mornings in our home. Now, again, is every morning perfect? No, but let me attempt to have a rhythm and a routine in our morning that I want my mornings to be peaceful and calm and loving and productive. And that is how I set up the time boundaries in my home. And it all starts with seeking him first, and then he adds everything else.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. I'm going to remember that, the thermostat. I love that, especially with teens.
It totally throws them off.
So good. It's so good. Something else I would love for you to share. I love your morning walk routine. Can you share a little bit more about that with our listeners?
Yes. So this comes from one of my time management mentors from afar, James Clear. Call me James.
Yes.
Call me. One of these days.
Atomic Habits a couple weeks ago. It's so
okay.
Good. So
Okay.
good.
Literally in my top 5 of all time personal development books. It is so practical and so good. And in it, one of the things he talks about is habit stacking.
Yes.
And again, I know that sometimes you think, well, my faith practice shouldn't be a habit stack. Like it should just come from the overflow of my spirit. But we do need to be practical in this. And we do need to have specific times that we have, if possible, that again, fuel us spiritually. And for me, if I can stack a couple of things, it's not multitasking.
Right.
Let me say that too. It's a habit that you already do and you align something else with it. Let me give you a quick example before my walk. Prior to COVID, I was going to a gym that was about 20 minutes away. And I started to think, again, who do I want to be? Like, who do I want to be? I want to be a woman of prayer. That is one thing I want to be. I also want to be a woman that takes care of herself. That's why I'm going to the gym, so I can have energy. Well, I was already driving to the gym every day. And I thought, how could I stack something onto that allows me to be closer with the Lord and be a woman of prayer? And I thought, I think I'm going to pray on my way to the gym. I'll set my phone away, which is always a good thing in the car. Don't have any other distractions. And I'm just going to use that. And I'm going to pray out loud. I'm going to pray in the car. So I started to do that. Well, then COVID hit, Melissa, and I didn't have that drive to the gym. And I'll just be totally transparent. My prayer life was not as good. It wasn't great. It kind of was random, hit or miss. So I thought, okay, I've got to stack it again because that was really what allowed me to make sure that I was intentional. So I live on Pensacola Beach. And it's a long barrier island. It's a skinny island. It goes from east to west. Like to walk. I like to incorporate that in my day. So it's one of the first things I do in the morning. And on my way out, I work. And I wish I could say I'm spiritual enough that I pray first. But, I know what my brain's going to do. I'd be like, I need to call that person and I need to do this and I need to plan that out. So sorry, Lord. Okay.
You did already seek the Lord first and you were already in the
I
app in the morning.
I did. So on my way out on my walk, I work and I leave messages for my team or I do, just the little things that need to happen. And on the way back, I put my phone up. I try to wear the shorts with the little pocket and I have worship music on super, 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 super low. Cause again, I want his presence there, but I also want to hear the birds and the breeze and whatever. And I pray on the way home because when I'm walking on the way home, I'm not can't do laundry. I can't do, right? It is purposefully distraction free, except for being in creation. And if it's okay, I'll just say one of the very first things I do in my prayer, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
So I just kind of started greeting and welcoming the Trinity into my life. Like I know. And so I just say, good morning, God. And then whatever I'm feeling about God the Father. So good morning, God, my Father, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, seated on your throne about like the majestic God of the universe, right? And then good morning, Jesus, my friend, my Savior, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. I like say hi to him. And then good morning, Holy Spirit, my comforter and healer and guide. And then I close my eyes as I'm walking and I say, I can't see you, but I can feel you.
Yes.
And I promise you, now maybe it's because I live on the beach, but every time I do it, a little gust of wind goes by and I'm like, there he is. There he is. Yeah. So I say all that a habit stack that sounds so practical can really make a difference. Again, when you're starting to think, who do I want to be? What do I want it to feel like? So what am I already doing? And it could be something as mundane as driving somewhere like I used to do, or something as simple as a walk. What could I add to that that's not multitasking, but I'm adding to it to enhance something that I value? That helps.
Oh, that's so good. I love the idea of habit stacking. And I love that this is such a practical thing that anyone who's listening, if they are driving to work in the morning and maybe they've got a 20-minute drive to work, this is the way they can add into it. And Kali, I'm so glad that my listeners get to learn from you because the way I do something is not necessarily the way that is going to work for everybody. And this is such a practical and purposeful way that they can engage in their faith. I love it. Thank you.
Of course, it goes without saying that if we give ourselves enough margin throughout the day, that it doesn't have, prayer is not in a box, right? And it doesn't have to be 30 minutes on a walk, 20 minutes on a drive. It's throughout it, it's sprinkled throughout the whole day. That is why margin is important. So we can not just speak to him, but we can hear him. We can be in that moment throughout the day. But I will say there is something I think sacred about carving out some time that no matter what, this is my time with the Lord.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I love that. And that's that praying without ceasing that you're talking about, that praying throughout the day. And thank you for sharing that we need to leave margin, because I think sometimes as women, we're like, okay, I have to get all of the things done and I have this many hours. And, before work, I need to get these things done. And after work, I need to get these things done. And then we have kid activities. It's a lot, but that margin is so important.
It's so important. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of the last things that we make time for. So if nothing else, let's give ourselves some permission today for a little margin.
Yes. Now let's talk about family life. And I love that you've already shared you've got 2 teenagers, and we know that with kids, family life can get overwhelming so fast. So what are some of the practical ways to manage time so that these relationships we've got with our husbands and with our kids are a priority? And like you said before, not just checking the box, like how do we actually make them a priority?
So good. And a priority they should be, right? That's why we choose to have a family. That's why we want to do the things that we do. I also want to say that we model and we choose as moms. We want to model so many things for our kids, right? We want to model kindness, and we want to model generosity, and we want to model all these things. Well, let's also keep in mind that we are modeling things like hard work. We're modeling boundaries. We're modeling honoring priorities and expectations. So let's not shy away from that either. Let's look at this as we're guiding them and modeling them for that too. So yes, I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. I will say everything has just recently changed for us because my 16-year-old can drive. So that is a whole new thing. Whole new world. Yeah, over here. But up until very recently, he wasn't. He plays travel sport. Both of them are very involved in so many things. One of the most important things that I share with my audience, and I teach women, and I do my very best to practice as well, is what I call the expectation conversation. And I'll tell you an example of one of my friends and clients. She has 4 children. She married a guy whose mom was kind of like, I'm dating myself, but June Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver, kind of the apron and yeah. So every night when he was growing up, her husband was growing up, there was like this, 4-course meal. They all sat at the table. She would, fluff her hair and makeup and everything before the husband came home. Okay. So my friend marries this guy, and that's just not really who she is. Let's just be clear. But she is under this weight of expectation that that's what it needs to look like. Her husband's a farmer, so he would come in at any time. Like it's not 8 to 5. So he'd come in and she would be so stressed out trying to have the kids all perfect and herself and this meal and this. And then she became resentful of him and the kids. And so then she got snippy. I mean, I'm not saying anything she wouldn't say at all. And then she decided that they had to have this expectation conversation that I talk about. And what's different about this kind of expectation conversation, instead of having her husband lead it, she wrote down all the things that she does for him, that she feels like he wants her to do, right? I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. Then she had him rate it in importance, only to discover he did not care about this fancy meal. He was like, I could have a bowl of cereal. I don't even care.
Oh, gosh.
All he cared about, Melissa, was that the dining room table was cleared off, because that signaled to him that he was going to eat something.
Yes.
He didn't care what it was. And for years, she'd been killing herself trying to do things for her family that they didn't really care about. So what I think is important is with each member of your family, and again, it depends on their ages. When they're really little, it's, much more general. But with each one of my kids, so my son, what's important, Britain, that I'm at for you? Do you want me to be at a practice? Do you want me to be at this game? Do you want me to? And they'll tell you. And so you have to believe them. And he could care less if I'm ever at a practice.
Right.
Does not care. So therefore, I learned I could carpool. I could let his dad take him. I mean, we're married, but let his dad take him, right?
Yeah.
And now he can drive himself to practice. But what he did say was important to him is that I video, he's a goalkeeper now. Pray for
Okay.
me. Goalkeeper's mom is the worst position on the team.
Oh my gosh.
But I have every goal he's ever saved on video.
Oh,
He wants to look over on the sideline and know his mom was there and that I saw his goal. So I will rearrange heaven and earth because that's kind of the only thing. Oh, and he did say he likes real dinner. He doesn't like the bowl of cereal like my friend's husband. He wants and I was like, what is like real dinner? He was like, I don't know, like tacos or chicken or something. He doesn't want like breakfast for dinner. He wants real dinner.
He's not okay with just a bowl of cereal.
So for me, I needed to have that expectation conversation with him in order to know what he valued and what was important. And so the same thing with my daughter, the same thing with my husband. That's what we needed to develop together so that I wasn't trying to kill myself doing the thing for everybody else where they really didn't prioritize that, if that makes sense.
Kelly, I love the idea of the expectations conversation. That is not something I've ever even thought about before, but I love that. And when I think back to your client who, she was picturing that she had to be Joan Cleaver with her pearls and her dress and vacuuming and making sure dinner was on the table and perfect and the kids' faces were wiped down. I mean, gosh, what a lot of weight on her shoulders that had to have been. And then to find out her husband, the most important thing was that dining room table was clear. What a relief.
She was like, I can handle that. And I think what was neat too in their situation is that then in turn, she said, well, do you want to write a list? And he did. And he thought that being there at breakfast time was helping her because he wanted to make this full breakfast for the kids. And she was like, I just want to throw a Pop-Tart in their face and get them to school. And what happened in that conversation was, as a farmer, it was actually better for him to be up and out early. Yeah. And when she gave him permission, I would rather you there at dinner time, even if it is, again, cereal. I'd rather for us all to be together at dinner and you get out in the fields earlier. And so it was like this beautiful symbiotic relationship of, wait, you don't need me to do that? So it was almost less of what I need you to do, because sometimes we get caught in that trap. And it was, what do you not need me to do?
Yes.
And it was so freeing.
I love that. And then I think back to your son where you're like, it's not important to you that I'm at practice. Amazing, because that frees up 5 days a week, right? But it is easier for you then when all of those days are freed up to move heaven and earth, to be there so that you can watch every single goal. I love that.
1,000%. Yeah. So it's a little twist on what some people think. It's not saying, what do you need me to do? It's, these are the things I'm doing. Is there anything that is just not that important to you? Yes. And it absolutely will free you up and help you to have these conversations with each other.
That's so good. So now that we've talked about that expectations conversation, we're kind of seeing now, okay, we can take some things away to make room for what matters most. And some women just feel so overwhelmed, maybe they have got so much going on and maybe they're stuck in survival mode. How can better time management create breathing room so that they can dream again, so that they can start living and working in their purpose again?
Oh, I love that. Because again, it goes back to the question, who do I want to be, right? Yes. Who do I want to be? I want to also first dispel a myth that we tend to think if we just had more time.
Yes.
That's kind of what I hear all the time. If I just had more time. And let me just tell you, that is the last thing that you need. Because if I did magically give you more time, what would you do? Fill it with more to-dos and more stuff and more. So, oh my word, no. God knew exactly what he was doing. No more time. We don't need any more time. Most often what we do need, Melissa, is to know and to be aware of where we are spending our time. Yes. So I like for women to do something. You're not going to want to do it. And probably most of you won't do it. And that's okay. I get it. But I really encourage that you do a time audit. And it sounds, it doesn't sound very fun, but the results are fun. Because if you want that dream and you want that, the results are fun. And what I have everyone do is kind of a weekly plan in reverse. And every 30 minutes, if preferable, but an hour, kind of like a food diary, you write down what you just did. And like a food diary, I'm like, why can't I lose these last 5 pounds? It's like, well, because if I eat the leftover mac and cheese out of the pot that my kids didn't eat, that doesn't count, right? Right. Or eating while standing up doesn't count, or a handful doesn't count. Well, same thing with our time. Whether it is scrolling here or I guess I'll call it wasting time. Now, again, margin is not wasted. Set aside time for like breathing and being and relaxing and recharging.
Yeah.
That is not a waste of time. Let's be clear. But misused time or mismanaged time, not being a good steward of our time, the only way you're going to know that and recognize it is if you open your eyes and you have an awareness. So I like to say that you're going to be a scientist, not a judge when you do
Oh,
this.
that's
There's
so
no
good.
judgment, no judgment, no shame. My pastor says shame off you, no shame when you do it, but there will be awareness. And what you're going to do is you're going to see patterns when you pull back. When you look at the whole week, you're going to see patterns and say, you know what? I thought that it only took me, like I had a client who did this. She was always 20 minutes late, always. No matter what she did, set the alarm, always 20 minutes late. Do you know why? Because she thought for sure, she would have sworn up and down it took her 40 minutes to get ready in the morning. It takes her 60 minutes to get ready in the morning. She's not a bad person. She's not lazy. She doesn't not care about people. She just misunderstood how much time she was spending on something. And now she had a decision. Does she want to allow herself 60 minutes to get ready and kind of have a more leisurely morning? Or does she want to cut it back down to 40 minutes and stay on track? So I think what the value is in this is that we take the time to see where our time is going. And when we take the time to see where our time is going, we can then pull back, bird's eye view, and we can say, does this reflect who I say I want to be and the dreams that I have?
Yes.
And if it does, great, you're going to keep moving forward. And if it doesn't, because for most of us it doesn't, all we have to do then are a few small changes and maybe say, maybe this is a no for now, because I really do have this dream that I'm going after in my career or in my community or whatever I'm doing. But you're not going to know what that looks like until you do that little, one of my son's soccer coach calls it the dark work. It's the work that nobody sees that you're doing.
Yep.
But it's so important. So that's what I suggest is we just have a little reality check.
Yeah.
And we just say, where is my time going? And then when I look at it, if you didn't know me, what would you say was important to me? And if you didn't know me and you say her faith is important to her family is important to her, and her dream is important to her, then I nailed it.
Yes.
No matter what time I woke up.
Yeah.
I went to bed. But if you said, it looks like her faith is important to her and her family is important to her career is important to her neighborhood is important to her this is important to her, and there's no room for the dream, then no wonder you're either getting no sleep or you're feeling unfulfilled. You have the power over that calendar, but not until you know where it's going. Does that help?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And that time audit, I mean, it really is eye-opening too, and makes you think like, so I haven't done this yet, but now I'm going to. And I'm just thinking, okay, how tempted am I to always pick up my phone and just not even thinking about it? But if knowing I'm going to have to write that down, whoo, Kelly, that's going to hold me accountable. I mean, I'm not going to want to pick up my phone because then I'm going to be embarrassed at myself because I'm the only one seeing this that always scrolled on my phone for 10 minutes when I should have been preparing my lunch so that I can eat my healthy lunch before I have to get back to my desk for my next meeting. I mean, what a way to really make you think about what's important. I love that.
Yeah. And it should be very few things on that list too. I think that's the other. We're stretched so much. I have a friend whose pastor said to her, Kathy, you are, let me get it right. You are an inch deep and a mile wide. And I think you should be an inch wide and a mile deep.
Yes.
And that's when you have time for faith, your family, and that amazing, fabulous dream and the calling and the purpose, but we can't be stretched so wide. We have to go deep.
You are absolutely right. Now, Kelly, you have a great strategy for time management. And I know that you have podcast episode after podcast episode and a course sharing it. But I'm going to ask, maybe you could just give my listeners a sneak peek into the Kali Brigham method, the perfect-ish method of time management.
Yes. Let me just give you one little nugget. I'm going to give you a practical thing. And what I call it's a Friday planning party is what it is. So it came because every time management coach I've ever known, ever in the history of ever, talks about doing a planning on a Sunday night, right? You do your meal plan and your weekly plan and all this stuff. And I was working with a client and she was fine. She was honest enough to say, I don't like doing this on Sunday.
I don't blame her. I don't either.
Yeah. And I thought, wait a minute, I don't either, because when I do it on Sunday, now I'm bringing Monday into my Sunday. And then on Sunday morning, I'm thinking I need to plan tonight. And on Saturday, I'm thinking, and then I just want to like be with my family or watch a movie or make a good meal. Or I was like, oh, wait, I don't like it either. And so what we did is we shifted it to Friday to close out your week and prepare for your next week. Making a grocery list, making what could be delegated next week. What am I going to do? Making my weekly plan, writing out what I need to do for my personal life and my professional life. It allows me to close out a week, even if you don't work full time. This still is beneficial. And then absolutely be done for the weekend. You can revisit it Sunday night real quickly, and then you're good to go. So I have a tool for you, for your listeners. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes, but it is the Friday planning party. It's templates for you. You can use it digitally or you can use it on old school, a new cool paper if you want. There's a little video that shows you how to use these tools. And it's just my free gift to the world that and listen, if you still want to plan on Sunday, that's fine. But we're starting a whole movement of people. We get it done on Fridays. We enjoy our weekend and then we're ready to hit it Monday morning.
I love it. I love it. I have used the planning tool. It is just such a great concept. I love it. And it got me thinking about how I plan especially for the week ahead on Friday, because I'll tell you, Kelly, one of the things Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning, as we're planning out like meals for the week, because we'll do grocery shopping on a Saturday, and I'm sitting there, my husband's looking at me, and it's usually like not like a good time either. Like my headspace isn't thinking about what do I want to make for dinner this week. And he asks me, and every week I'm like surprised. Like, why are you asking me what we're going to have for dinner this week? But oh yeah, we have to do this. So doing that on Friday makes such a huge difference, because then come Saturday, all right, so we split up the grocery shopping. I go one place, he goes another, like we've got a good system down. But then I can say, this is what the meals are. If you have any ideas, we can change it. But what a difference that alone makes. Huge.
Yay. I'm so glad. And it was so fun having you. We did our very first ever giant planning party and you were part of it. And I loved having you there. And I'm so glad. And again, you don't have to take it exactly as I did it, but take it as an example of you're not a tree, you can move. If you don't like doing here, do it there. If you don't like a morning walk like mine, do a golden hour walk, do an evening walk. You can absolutely do any of those things as long as when you look at your schedule, it's an overview, you say, this is the kind of person that I want to be and I want to have other people see me being.
I love that. Well, Kelly, as we wrap it up, I know you've already shared some great steps that our listeners can take to really not be perfect, right? But how they can get better with time management. So for the woman listening today who maybe feels like she's always behind, I'm sure you've got maybe like one more simple but powerful first step she could take to start redeeming her time.
Yes, absolutely. Another practice that I do, and I want you to all to start thinking about time management as time stewardship, right? And as Christians, as believers. So the other thing I do in my morning at the end of my prayer, or then is I surrender my day. And I literally hold my hands up and I go through my whole day. And I was just reading about it this morning, that man makes his plans and God directs his steps, right? So I go through my whole day. I surrendered this podcast recording today and I go through everything that I'm going to do, but I surrender it with open hands. And I know that maybe I planned to go right today and God might take me left. And when I surrender, it's kind of my way of controlling the things I can't control, right? Yes. And I say, you know what? God must have taken me this way instead. And I dare you to try it because it is still good to plan it out. I think that's a smart way of using our resources and God wants us to be wise. But at the end of the day, if he wants to disrupt it and move it around, his plan is better. That way you won't get all twisted. You won't get all upset about it. You'll say, this was part of his plan anyways. And I have already surrendered it. It's already good. So if that encourages you to, that is a daily part of my practice too. I'm going to surrender it to him and trust him in it. I'm still going to plan it out, but at the end of the day, he can do with it what he chooses.
Yes. Oh, that is so good. I love that. What like a perfect note just to wrap up this conversation in a bow. I love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for letting me be here and just share about things that I absolutely love. I know with women that I hope will it'll resonate with them and they'll
Oh
receive
my
it too.
gosh, for sure. Well, Callie, friend, I'm just so glad that we finally got to do this. And I just know that my listeners got so much out of this conversation. And we will have those resources that you mentioned in the show notes. So thank you.